Okay, hopefully we work now. We say no to tech difficulties. Yay! All right, I'm gonna add Tovit. She's here now. Fine. Okay. All right. I don't know why my screen. Hey, Tovit. Yay, she got
Hi.
it.
Sorry for being so late. It's not that, it's other things. It's not me.
I'm just glad
Well,
you're here. That's what's most important.
thank you.
So,
Apologies for anyone who's been waiting.
yeah, we can start now. We'll just give like a sorry, a few minutes for others to join because we were on the call previously. I had to end it and then like say I need to go find out what's happening. But
He's gone.
I'm showing as we proceed. Let me just get us on the show. Okay, 1 second. How are you?
What?
How are you doing? I said, how are you
Struck
doing?
again. I'm doing fine. COVID struck again, so me and my older daughter are in confinement again. It's never ending.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. That
Resilience, agility, all that's needed everywhere in all realms of life.
those are the
Just
okay.
practice,
Let's start.
practice, practice. Wait.
Yeah, we're building our resilience with this cycle that is on. Okay, so I'll start now. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Those that might watch later, you're welcome to our IG Live series for this month of entrepreneurship at Staring for Greatness Foundation. We're so excited to have you join us, and I'm excited about this first episode that we're having with Tovit. She actually, if you saw the tweet post I put up out earlier, she was my mentor with the Sherry Blair Foundation Women's Mentoring Program. So I know that she's going to be sharing valuable information and insights on today's episode, because I've actually benefited, and Staring for Greatness has also benefited from insightful business journey or entrepreneurship journey. So, Tovit, thank you so much for making our time. Tovit is based
Thank
in
you for
Israel.
having
She's a
me.
business developer and a serial entrepreneur. Yeah. So,
Thank you
this
for
is how
having
it's
me.
going to go. Yeah, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm just going to ask you a few questions, and then we'll open up at the end if others join us for, or when others join us for questions that they may have. But I just have like a series. So we're doing entrepreneurship this month at the foundation, and just like our content work will be dedicated to that, since it's one of our focal areas. And we just wanted to bring on board people that are working, that have been entrepreneurs, whether young, old, a diverse mix actually that we have planned this month, to just share with us the entrepreneurship journey and to just inspire or share like challenge how they've resolved challenges that they've encountered as entrepreneurs, that our young people that watch, that we train as well, can take some tips from. So thank
Mhm.
All right, so our first question is can you just share with us your entrepreneurship journey? How did you decide to become an entrepreneur? Was this something you always knew you wanted to do? Did you stumble on it? You know, some people say entrepreneurship or entrepreneurs are like, some of them are innate. Some people believe that you have to be born into a family of entrepreneurs to be successful at it, and so on. So please share.
Okay, great. I love the question, and I really love the fact that you said that some people think you have to be born to an entrepreneurship family. My case is just the opposite. I think the fact that I chose this path is a contrast to the surrounding where I was born and raised. Both my parents worked as a 9 to 5-ish work. My mom did a 9 to 5 or even less. My dad did shifts, so that was terrible on his health and mental and physical health. And honestly, I don't think they loved a day of these works that
Mm.
they had. And I kept hearing these stories of I'm not finding it good. Well, I don't like the surrounding. I don't like what they do, but they kept on doing that. And being brought up in an environment that people do things that they don't like to do and don't feel appreciated or evolving in their role
Yeah.
made me kind of make a promise when I was really little that I would never work for someone else. I mean, that's very juvenile and childish, but still,
Very
that made
cool.
a scar or a mark on myself that for starters, the most basic thing was I would do something that I love. And if I'm not in a place that's right for me, it could be as a 9 to 5, could be working for someone else, could be doing my own thing. It has to be something that's good for me, mentally, physically, like being in a good place. So that's what started everything. And I think even at the age of 10, I started doing my own business and stuff. Yeah, 10, 12 onwards after my military service. So I was always doing things, kind of inventing things, selling them, or just trying to have my own store in the festival, whatever that would be.
Mm.
And then I started as a journalist, but
Okay.
I felt that writing stories that leave a mark, that is live for like maybe 24 hours and then wraps the fishes. It's not for me. I want to do something that stays and sticks.
Yeah.
So I started my own content company that was based on a product that I invented, and created, and paid a lot of money, invested my own money to produce it,
Yeah.
started selling that, and then selling services that have to do with creation of content because that was that product. One thing led to another. That was a very successful company. Then I was caught up with the startup bug because in Israel you can avoid that. It's like a virus. It's everywhere.
Right.
Everyone starts everyone starts their own business, which is always technology and startups. And you walk around in Tel Aviv and all the coffee shops are with people, young people who talk about their next idea
Yeah.
and what they're gonna do and their business. So you can't really avoid that. So I started the first startup. It failed. It got into the high statistics of startups that fail. Did another one just immediately after that also fell.
Wow.
But it enriched me and gave me many, many useful lessons. I mean, there are some lucky people, successful people, they just start their first business, successful, second, successful. Could be, I don't say, but I think these scars and failures just make you who you are and give you so much to take onwards to the future.
So wow, you already like packed a lot of wisdom in.
Sorry.
Yeah, and actually, one of my key takeaways from what you shared about your journey into entrepreneurship about one, the environment and how that being around people that enjoyed the work that they were doing made you as a little child or as a young person to decide early on that whatever you were going to do, it had to be something that was good for you and that you were going to enjoy. And I think it's something that we also try to advocate our young ones or people that work with at the foundation to really think around. Don't just go to school or pick up a job for the sake of, oh, it's an income. It has to be something that builds you up, that you enjoy, and that you can see yourself doing time. Yes, it's not going to always be enjoyable because I said enjoy, but then you're growing and you like being there. Like, I was sharing with one of my students 2 days ago about how now the work I do, I wake up in the morning and I'm not like fearful. There was a point in my life, just being in the shower, you know how like there's so many to-do lists and things, and you just have this mental anxiety of, oh my God, what's gonna happen at work today? I don't know. But then now, even if something there's a curveball that is thrown at me now, it doesn't really matter because I absolutely enjoy the why and the what of my work. So yeah,
But you can still have the anxiety. I don't say that I don't have it. And I'm sure you also have that because it's your baby and it's your organization and foundation and you started it. So you're very well immersed and invested in that mentally. I mean, emotionally, it's yours. So, you know, when you
hmm
go up to the stage, when you start this session and something goes wrong, technical, I don't know, the funding is over, no customers, you invested. But then when
yeah,
you look back to that year, to that week, to that day, you think, okay, it was really, really hard, but it's
it was
impactful, it's meaningful, it's maybe mine. Some people think, I mean, some people care if it's theirs or not, but I think it's the belonging. It doesn't have to be yours, but
yours.
it's meaningful for yourself.
That's so true. It has to be meaningful for you. Great. So, our next question is, you mentioned that your first startup failed and you were in this old Tel Aviv
Two, two,
store.
yeah.
Yeah, second one, and then you did another one and it failed as well. So, how were you able what were the things you learned from that process of building something and seeing it fall apart and then building again and it fell apart again, but then you built something else that is successful, that is doing well. So, how were you able to go through that journey to stability? Yeah.
Okay, so there's so many lessons, and for each you kind of get different lessons, and sometimes you use them and embrace them for the next one. And there's a saying, I don't know if it's translated, but let's try. You can always or only prepare for the war that ended. I mean,
Mm,
the lessons that you get are maybe useful, but mostly they're useful for the previous one. I mean, I would never fail again doing that and that, but you know, next time, who knows what the world will throw at me? Unless I'm
yeah,
going on the same path, but why would I start the same startup again if it just failed? So these are the lessons, but there are some basic ground rules that I can take.
yeah,
Having the emotional circle of friends and family that has to be really, really strong. It doesn't have to be many, many, many people around you, but they have to be the select elite ones that really, really support you. A positive environment
yeah,
that lifts you up, that bounces you back as soon as possible. Like I have this group of few friends that we have this WhatsApp group and we meet every now and then. One of them is not in Israel anymore, so we kind of try face to face or digitally to meet up. They're just amazing. We just pick each other up and hold their hands and you know embrace and empower. This is what you need. You need these
yeah,
go-getter, these people who have your back and give you the strength. That's one thing. I think even before that, you have to have the right spouse, the one that can walk the whole thing with you, be it a
mm,
marathon, a sprint, a triathlon, ultra marathon, whatever you would call this, because this is a journey. This is
yeah,
this is the type of journey. The third thing is the physical one. You have, I mean, for me, you have to have sports in your life. You have to have a balance, mental and physical. Sometimes, you know, my breath is just, I'm out of breath. If I'm not doing sports, enough sport, kind of cardio, physical, whatever power and stuff, I would not handle that.
mm,
Maybe it sounds basic. On the same level, I would say nutrition. You
yeah,
have to be healthy. If
yep,
you do a startup, if you do your own business, if you have people who rely on you for work and their salary, they depend on you, you have to be fit for that, internally and externally. Another thing is sleep. Yeah, you have to sleep well. This is so tiring. I'm
You know what?
sorry.
Laugh because I think everything you're sharing is like the opposite of what people would typically expect when you say ask an entrepreneur. Tell us about like how do you grow and go from like the shaky start to this point of stability. It's always like, oh, grind all the time and all that. But you're here saying You need to find a balance because you're here for the long haul. It's a marathon and you need that stamina, both internal and external. And I think it's very important for, especially for our younger generation to hear it because there's a lot of hustle hard, hustle. I'm like, yeah, hustle, but find the good balance. Don't become consumed by the work that you actually don't have a life. And then, especially if it fails at some point, if it does, it may not fail. But even at that, you don't want to lose like friends and family as well in the process of building something that lasts. Yeah.
Exactly. You know, I can quote there's there's a world known climber, and Tommy Carver, I think his name, and he has this saying that don't put all the eggs of happiness in one basket. I love
Mm,
this saying because it means your startup most probably would fail and your business might not be as successful as you would like, right?
yeah.
But you have to have more things. So when you fall, something picks you up. I mean, find that tiny thing, a hobby. I mean, don't delete everything because if that's gone, you would look back and say, okay, 3 years of my life has just ended. I have nothing, no exit, no funding. I'm minus. I'm sleep deprived. So what's left? I mean,
No,
you
that's
would find lessons. And I'm saying this not because I was so smart during the process, but because I failed so much. So now I know. And you know what? At times I don't remember these lessons, but I'm trying to kind of put the big building blocks in the aquarium before I put more things and then the water and everything fills up and overboard. So I want to have the stability and the foundation that would let me, you know, at times I don't eat well, don't sleep at all, don't do anything just because there's a crisis or drama.
yeah.
Okay. But it's not always like that. So you need to appreciate it and you need to build everything towards that.
Great. Thank you so much. So how would you advise a young person? So they've heard you say, yes, as you build, make sure you have the right structure in place where you're balancing out both your emotional, physical, spiritual well-being as you build. But someone that actually wants to start a business, they're like, what do I do? I just want to, I know that entrepreneurship is for me, just as you knew when you were a young child that you would like to do something for yourself or something that you enjoy doing with other people, even if you're working for others. How would you advise them to start? Where should they look to? Yes, and also in Nigeria and Africa now, there's a lot of tech buzz that, so we've also caught the bug that is going on in Tel Aviv. So
Yeah.
but then I always tell my students, not everything should be an app or a website, but then people are really obsessed with apps and websites these days. So it's fine. But as someone that has been in that space that has tried to build something tech based, how would you advise them to start?
Okay. So first, meet your market as soon as possible. Don't stay in the garage for months thinking you're developing the next Tesla car, driven by, I don't know, corn, cyber energy, whatever lie that would be. I mean, whatever that's it, just meet people, meet the right market, meet your users, meet your potential collaborators, whomever. Meet those companies that might sell it or might distribute it or might use it. Just meet them, talk with them. Come with your whiteboard, come with your sketchbook, come with I don't know, a demo, come with something, talk with them, hear, listen, but do not be derailed by other people's advices, because sometimes people say you have to meet as many as possible, but then it's really, really confusing and it's really problematic to understand. So what am I supposed to do? Because he said I should go right and he said I should go left. I'm too, I'm too overboarded with advice. So just take whatever you can, but have a border, have a line between your truth and their advice, because it's just an advice and they can say whatever they can say. But in the end, at the end of the day, it's either you do it or no one else.
We'll do it.
So it's your business. So you have to meet the market fast, take advice, but up to a point,
Mm.
and work on your network, on your business network. These are the people who would be your users, your clients, your advocators, your evangelists, your supporters, your the VCs and the people who would back you. You would need to have as many of these as possible. Kind of stay in touch with them, build your brand. Day one, build a brand. I'm doing this and that. Once you know what you're doing, share it with others. Kind of get your crowd.
That is very powerful. I think advocating our product is something that everyone has to learn. I need to keep learning it as we go. And as you said, work on your business network. But I think I'll move you back to the first point where you talked about. I think the question is, how can young people find that balance between finding people to give them feedback to the market, especially like getting out of the building. That's what you've said essentially. But and while you're out of the building, ensuring that what they tell you doesn't derail you from the vision or the picture. So you take the feedback, you use it to build to improve, but then you have to ensure that it's not now so many people, different people saying different things, and then it sends you down the road, down a rabbit hole that leads nowhere. So how do you find that balance between someone that gives you really good advice versus someone that doesn't, or maybe they're just saying their own truth? Like you said, you have your own truth of what you've seen that convinced you that this is what I should be doing. This is how I should build my product, or this is how my product should sell. But then there's value in listening to others. So where do we draw that balance and saying, actually, I think I would still do it this way, but I'll modify based on this feedback? Or which should you
Right.
prioritize more, the user, the collaborators, or just the critics? Like, what's the order of priority in taking feedback?
Okay, so I guess the first thing would be to have even on a whiteboard or your sketchbook, write down where you're going, where you're headed. Let's say you have an app that has to do with nutrition or well-being, mindfulness, whatever. That's very trendy today. So say, what's your vision? What's your mission? What's your end goal? Where you want to be? Answer all these questions. I mean, the answers may change, but something of that in that would be a grain of truth. Let's say, I want to do good in life. And then you meet 20, 2,000 people, whatever. And they all say, listen, you have to put some gambling effect there. And you have to put some, I don't know, take money where you don't want to do that. Go back to that page and see, okay, nothing aligns with my truth. Nothing aligns with the spine, the cord, the middle place. Okay, so that's not good. But anyone can, I mean, when you see repetitions of things, when 30 people tell you, do not go there, that's probably something you need to kind of at least explore. When you have like the majority, 100% of the people you talk with tell you not to, and they give some validation. They say, I try that, I fail. I try that, it's illegal. I try that, it takes just too long. Okay,
Yeah.
so maybe that's a place to kind of start. Don't be the smartest person in the room. I mean,
Mm.
my advice is to be the least smart. So you would know and learn so much from other people's experience. Other people's experience is the best way to kind of cut short and learn from others' mistakes. But, there are things that are unavoidable. I heard so many advice that, at times I just couldn't take that because that's my way. I needed to learn the hard way. And that's something that, maybe it's juvenile, maybe it's ego. There are things that you can change at first place. But then at the second time, I mean, after the second, I stopped. When the
Mm.
second one failed and I closed it down, I said, okay, there are different mistakes. It was completely different, but still they did not succeed. I need to take time off. And then I joined other people's startup, and that startup succeeded. So
Mm.
that's good. I mean, it was enjoyable for all sides. We all enjoy that. But I can say that looking from the side, because I came to rest quote unquote there. I mean, it's not really, but it wasn't mine. So I wasn't overloaded with everything. It wasn't really personal as having your own business. So I saw how hard it was for them. And then I realized, you know what? It wasn't only me. I mean, for anyone, it always looks that everyone on Instagram is so beautiful and so successful. There's so much no one tells you, and there's so much dust people eat on the way. So, that helped me a lot. That just put things in perspective. Sometimes you have great luck and it's great timing, and you do many, many mistakes, but then something happens. And the startup, the third one, the one that I work for now, I mean, they did a lot of mistakes, and for many of the way, for a long time, they didn't really know who should they listen to. Just like we were talking now, and just all those dilemmas that I met along the way. But something else happened. I think the best thing that I learned from that is to kind of keep the core, understand what's really important. If it's your business partner, so kind of talk with them and hold their hand and listen and understand and evaluate all the advice. And if it's something else, I mean, use your center. And people, yes, might derail you, and you might do mistakes, and you might fail. Try to analyze
Yeah.
and see what's working for you, who you should listen to. There are people that you listen to once and they make a big mistake, and you make a mistake by listening to. So next time, at least don't listen to them. Yeah.
So true. Thank you so much for sharing that. So to just recap for our listeners, one is to actually don't be the smartest person in the room. You also need to really be able to figure out where you're going and what is your end goal. If you're just joining us, we're talking about entrepreneurship and just sharing like from a very vulnerable. I'm glad that Tovit is coming from a very vulnerable point of view, not just the glitz and glamour that we see of entrepreneurs, and you're like, yeah, I want to be an entrepreneur, but really talking about the things the basics that you should be aware of, and the grit and resilience that it would take, and how you can build that on the way while still ensuring balance, and having around you a core group of people that you can always listen to, but you are sure that it's either they're sharing from their own experience or from what they have seen and tested. And even like as you mentioned, like when you went to work for another person, another startup, and built that, and that was a success, that also opened your eyes to see you weren't alone in the first two that you did. It's just that maybe there were some things that you needed to learn, or there was a process that you were going through, but these people also were going through, have gone through the same phase. And as the same business, as a product life cycle, you need to be aware of it and learn how to build the skill set to navigate that. Yeah.
Correct.
So our next question is what I think you've answered this already actually. What are the support structures startup entrepreneurs need to have? And then I think since you've touched on it already, you can still answer it. But the question I want to ask next is around resilience. I think we've touched on that a lot. So what is the role of resilience for an entrepreneur? And how can an entrepreneur grow resilience in their business?
Wow. It's so basic, so important. I mean, I think if you need to think of one trait that's really, really inherent, really a must for entrepreneurs, it's resilience. Because I remember one time I went to this big bank on my second startup, which was fintech, finance. And it was me and two other women that were very senior in that management of the bank. And I just told them something about myself and where I'm coming from and the process. And one of them kind of stopped me in the middle and she said, "Oh my God, you've been hearing so many no's in your life. You've been getting so many no's. And oh, how can you do that?" And I just told her, you know what? That's part of the process. You kind of grow a big, very thick armor, and you're kind of trying to be bulletproof. trying to soak up everything, kind of take what you need and then throw it out. Don't waste any energy on letting things get into you and derail you from your purpose. So I guess, I don't know, use sticky notes in front of yourself. Where you going? What's your aim? Why are
Yeah.
you doing what you're doing? It could be like very
Mm-hmm.
specific. I'm doing this specific app because I want to do blah, blah, blah. But it could be on a bigger or more higher essence, kind of I'm doing something good because I want to do good for others. That's
Yeah.
one thing. Another sticky note or a bunch of sticky notes, and I do that a lot with the business mentoring I give to my clients, is kind of have a list of your success, past
Mm.
successes. Kind of, I don't know, it could be tiny, it could be small, it could be meaningless, but it's not, because you have to start your day, jumpstart your day, and end the day in a high note. Kind of
Mm.
understand, today was hard, tomorrow is going to be really, really hard. We don't know if we have enough money for the end of the month. We might need to lay off people and employees. But what are we doing that's working? Did we do anything right from the things that we have on the list, from our mission or vision? Did we make anyone smile? If that's our mission, yes, we did. Okay, great. So it's one person, but that's amazing. That's a lot. Or
Yeah.
did anyone call today or send us an email saying this app made my day or changed my life and it really
Mm-hmm.
helped me? Amazing. So pile up all these tiny emails, let them just pile, but put that in front of your eyes. That's
Yeah.
resilience. Kind of hold on to the good things. Think of where you're going. Let
Mm.
out the bad things. Perspective. And going back to, the physics, the sports, the balance, the hobbies, the friends, the nutrition and sleep.
Yeah.
You won't make it. You won't make more than 1 kilometer in this run. Yeah, you won't make the final. And there's no final. It's just going on. That's your life. So don't waste it.
Yeah. So powerful. Thank you so much for sharing. Resilience is keeping the success, the little wins, the seemingly little wins in front of you. I
Little.
like that. Great. So, because we work with educators as well, not just the young ones, we wanted to ask you for, because many educators, especially in Nigeria, they always feel very constrained and think that, oh, my work is just to teach. But what are opportunities, or how would you advise an educator that actually is interested in entrepreneurship, or even wants to connect entrepreneurship into what they teach, the basic, maybe they teach math or English, to help their students see the real world? So it's two in one now. How would you advise an educator that wants to start a business? What should they do? All they know or all they've done is teach. And then secondly, those that still want to remain as teachers in the classroom, how can they help their students connect the real world to, connect entrepreneurship to whatever content they're teaching?
Okay, so let's start with the first one. Um, Education is amazing. And edtech, education technology,
Mm,
is on a rise. I think it used to be more like a niche, but there are enough VCs today and investors that understand the importance of making education the right way. I think
mhm,
COVID, the pandemic, made it even stronger because schools were nothing, were closed down, and technology kind of, there was a huge gap that opened
yeah.
because people understood that technology is not being harnessed enough by
Mm,
schools, by education, and there's so much that's possible to do. If you know Duolingo, which is
mhm,
an education app to speak
yeah,
languages, it's huge. It's
definitely.
huge. That's one thing. There's Brain Pop. It's not Israeli. I think it's from the States, but partly by Israelis. That's
Mhm,
short videos, animation about anything that
mm,
children want to learn. It could be about wars. It could be about uh, um, space. It could be history. anything about anything, and two characters there, and schools embrace that and use that as part. I mean, they show them videos and then some questions and some games.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, in my opinion, education and technology, it's a blue ocean. I mean, there's so much to do with the formal education, alternative, with the after school things that people can do. So I think it's amazing because they actually have a profession and
Mm.
accept
They have the
being tutors
experience.
and educators. They even have a specialty, maybe
Mm.
math, maybe English. Each of that vertical would be a place to kind of search. It could be an app. It could be a site. It could be a product, a physical. It could be IoT, connecting uh, physical and the body and metrics. There's so many options, but I would try and think in three lines. Think of technology meets education, meets your vertical, meets the specific trade that you teach. Could be music. There's an Israeli startup that's really, really, it's huge. It's called not Tiny, JoyTune.
It's called what?
JoyTune
Joy Tune.
Joy Tune, Tune. It
Okay.
teaches you how to play guitar. It
Mm.
started with piano. I think they also have guitar, and it's huge. That's education. That's
Yeah.
educating music. So it's how to educate plus what would you educate, in this case, music,
Mm.
and it's through an app. So that's technology. Uh, Educators need to think about their strength and then add to technology, maybe because it enables people to educate others and teach where they're long distance, like a grandfather teaches his grandson something when
Mm-hmm.
he's in relocation or
Yeah.
abroad or far away. There's so many things. I think for educators, it's exciting, and the time is very exciting. It's an exciting time that people and societies accept that and understand how important it is to teach, and how schools are maybe, run down, not relevant anymore. There's so many things that you can think to disrupt the education system. So I
Definitely.
would think of that. The second question was educators that do not want to start a business or to be entrepreneurs, how would
Yeah.
they connect their pupils?
How can they encourage their students or pupils to entrepreneurship through what they teach in the classroom?
Okay, so I would think it would be a combination of finding people who would inspire them and
Mm.
teach them about great figures and people around history and around the world, throughout history and around the world, that did something amazing, like started a business. Maybe, let's say, you are a gymnasium teacher. You would teach them about the history of Nike founder,
Mm.
or about, I don't know, Adidas, Reebok, whatever, one of these businesses.
Yeah.
You would teach them so much through a brand that they love or they know, they're familiar with, and teach them a lot about business, about entrepreneurship, about failure, about resilience, about sticking to your point and
Mm.
to your mission and to your goals. That's on the one hand. On the other
Mm-hmm.
hand, another thing that they could do, is to do like PBL, and to find a project and to do a hands-on
Mm.
assignment to give them, they could study and teach them about, get them familiar with a figure like a founder of one of the biggest brands that they know, but then would give them a small test, a small task, a small assignment to immerse them in business, to
Yeah.
immerse them in finding ideas, maybe have their presentation in front of the other peers and students, give them practical things to do.
Great. Thank you so much. Yeah, very important. There's so many opportunities I found that we can use to bring entrepreneurship into the classroom without basically calling it an entrepreneurship class. by even showing how popular brands are using math or science or communication, writing, English to advance their work. And these are like products that they're familiar with, they use every morning, and it inspires them. And then showing them the backside of the story, as you said, like the power of resilience. So even if they're struggling in that subject, how can they apply what they've learned? So that's where reflection comes in as well. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I think I'll pause now because our time is almost up. In case anyone has any questions, please, thank you all for joining. You can drop it in the comments box, and I'll read it out for Tovit to respond to. Um, in the meantime, I'll just ask our last question from our end while we wait, if there is any from the audience. And it says, what's your advice for sustainability in business?
Okay, is that a question that just jumped?
Yeah, there's
Okay,
a
in a
question
second.
that just
Again,
dropped.
sustainability. Wait,
In
we'll
business.
start with your question.
It's how would you advise, sorry, what's your advice for an entrepreneur to build in sustainability into their business? So as they build, you mentioned earlier about putting structures in place. So I believe like that ensures that there is like, so the business is sustainable in the long run. So what's your advice for that? Then we can take this question that we have here
Right.
after that.
Have a sustainable business. I would say you would start, like I said before,
Mm-hmm.
meet your market fast. Understand what would they pay for, what would they need, what would service them, what would add value, something that
Mm,
they do not have now, and try to say in the most basic and fast manner what you should do in order to fulfill that need. To be sustainable is not kind of take a huge loan and get into debt and then
mm,
realize that these two people you've spoken with don't need that anymore and they do not represent anything and you're stuck with a huge inventory. No, I
mm,
would start maybe small but fast and understand all the time. Go back to that focus group. Go back to that those people you talk with, those first clients. Understand, was it good? Not. How can I grow? But just grow in tiny steps, but fast.
mm.
And be with the hand on the pulse. Be on top of things all the time. I would not go into, we talked about the glitter before. I would not go into running and buying this new huge office and decorate everything.
Mm,
I would, I'm more on an ecological point of view. I would start by seeing how I can do the minimum that gives the maximum and do it fast. But I would not jump into kind of declaring things. There are so many ways to bypass that. I mean, people do not need to buy huge things. Kind of think creatively how you can do a sustainable business to get it running. And then when you can and when you need, it's not can. I prefer to kind of, if I have to have that for the growth or for the business stability, I would buy
mhm,
it or I would,
mm,
um, sign up for something. But if it's not
mm.
needed, I would not jump into these huge adventures. Now, let's try and read.
Yeah,
Okay, how can government policy or school curriculum covering entrepreneurship
take into
am I
account
missing?
values like
Uh,
resilience and identity. So it says, how can government policy or school curriculum covering entrepreneurship take into account values like resilience and identity, like you shared? So I think how can they incorporate these values into the curriculum or policy for
right.
school?
Amazing. First of all, I would love them to do that, and that would be really
That would
great.
make the work easier.
In terms Yeah, in terms of schools, so any project that might go into the basic curriculum or some tools that they would give through seminars to the teachers, some
Mm,
PLB project-based PBL, sorry, project-based learning through the government. It also could be like a summit once a year. It could
Mm.
be through a month. This month we're taking resilience. This month we're taking entrepreneurship. Kind of take a topic. It could
Yeah.
be a topic that you add, or you just highlight resilience. Kind of put that on top of the agenda. Um, Maybe some collaborations between different offices in the government. So it could be
Mhm.
sports, it could be culture, it could be, trying to push people for achievements, but also to balance their life
Yeah.
and their well-being. I hope that answered that.
Yeah, I think these are some good ideas, especially from like a policy perspective. Pushing that it's not just about teaching, oh, this is entrepreneurship, but emphasizing these things that you mentioned in our conversation around balance and resilience, but doing it through projects, experiential learning would be more impactful. And also, even empowering the educators would help them take this into the classroom effectively. Yeah,
Right.
especially where they're like very passionate about their jobs. So yeah, I don't know if there's any other question. Please drop it in the comment. Otherwise, I'll just ask Tovit to please share any last words with us. Thank you so much for your time this evening. What's like a key
So,
takeaway? What should we remember?
first of all, anyone who wants to reach out can connect via LinkedIn and also Instagram, but LinkedIn would be best. Kind of drop your question or whatever I can help with. If there are any educators, I would love to see what you're gonna do, how you
Yeah.
embed technology or entrepreneurship. It doesn't have to be an app, it doesn't have to be a website if that's something that you're not familiar with or related
Mm.
to. I mean, there's so many things educators can do, and you have amazing tools and amazing abilities. So I vote for you. You have my vote. Take it,
Yes.
please take it somewhere else, something to bring something new, a new spirit, a new way of handling things, because you have the power to shape people's lives. I
Mm.
don't know many other trades or many other professions that are so important and can make a huge difference on people. I remember some teachers that I have, not many, but you only have to have
You remember a
one,
few? Yeah.
two. Yeah, and I remember just bits of that, but it moved me so much. I mean,
Mm.
I published, as you know, my first novel this year. That's a
Mm.
side. That's balancing life, by the way. That's having your own, spare time
We're
doing
waiting
your
for the
hobbies.
English version.
Yes, yes, I know. I'm working on it. I know you would know first. And I just remembered a few weeks ago my English teacher and
Good.
how I just loved her, and something funny that she used to tell me. And I'm kind of thinking, you know what? She's part of that. She's part of things that I've done. So educators, you shape people. I mean, their parents shape them, and then you have a second chance to
Yeah,
help more, to help
definitely.
those that their parents didn't. I mean, what could be more impactful? So go
Mm.
ahead. If you're doing it locally, maybe you can do it globally, but I don't know, giving some talks in a national forum every now and then. There's so many things you can do, but you're doing amazing anyway. So kudos
Thank
and
you.
way
We
to
shall share
go.
this with the educators and hopefully others will watch this later. It'll be a nice clip to bring out to encourage. And this week was World Teachers Day, so I'm sure someone out there needs to hear that their work is so important and
It
we're rooting
is.
for them.
It is. It is wonderful. And thank you so much. This has
Thank you,
been so much
Tovit.
fun
Yeah,
always
I
with you.
always enjoy having this chat. I did. I'm glad that you did as well. We look forward to your book when it's published in English so that the rest of us can read and learn. And
Yay.
thank you to all those that joined us. And if you watch this later, thank you for joining. Feel free to leave a comment on that when the video is uploaded to IG Life, so that if you watch it again, if there are questions, you can connect with Tovit or with us. And we'll see you next week when we bring on our next guest. Bye. Thank you, Tovit.
Bye.
Thank you. Love
Thank you.
you.
Have a
Okay.
good night.